Last Friday, May 14th, the WNBA officially began its 25th season, and this year promised to be one of the best ones yet. There's a lot of stars in their prime or ending their careers, like Diana Taurasi and Candace Parker, but there's also a lot of great up-and-coming players who are ready to take over the league, like Sabrina Ionescu and Enrique Ogunbowale. With all that being said, let's start breaking down every single team in the league one by one. The Dallas Wings were the third worst team in the league last season, having a record of 8 wins and 14 losses. Though I believe they will improve and maybe even sneak into the playoffs, it's hard to see this team contending just now. The Wings have one of the brightest futures in the WNBA. Enrique Ogunbowale led the league in scoring last year and is only 24, going into her third season in the league. They also just had the two first picks in the 2021 draft, Charlie Collier and Aga Kuye, who are 21 and 19 respectively. Other players to keep an eye on are Satu Sabali from last year's draft, Alicia Clark, and Dana Evans, who slipped all the way to the second round in the 2021 draft. This will definitely be one of the most interesting and fun teams to watch because of their firepower and their youth. I believe they will end up with a record of 12 and 20. The Chicago Sky are the opposite of the Wings, having a team full of veterans and looking for a title right now. Their biggest move this offseason was the addition of Candace Parker, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, who is already 35 years old and going into her 14th season. She's still an amazing player and one of the best in the league, but she's definitely inching closer to her retirement and wants to capitalize at least one more time. She will be pairing up with Courtney Vandersloot, one of the best passers in WNBA history, Allie Quigley, and Diamond DeShields. This team has a lot of firepower and will definitely be among the top. My prediction for them is 20 wins and 12 losses. The Atlanta Dream are another really young team that still have some growing to do before they can really compete for anything. The team will be led by three guards, Kennedy Carter, who had an amazing rookie season last year, Aaron McDonald, the third pick in the 2021 draft, and Courtney Williams, that averaged 15 points and 7 rebounds last season. It would be really interesting to see how this three-guard lineup will work out. I predict them to finish somewhere around 9 and 23. The Connecticut Sun are an interesting team. They went to the finals in 2019 and in 2020, missing their best player, Jonquel Jones. They surprised everyone and got all the way to the semifinals. This team was one game away from beating the Aces and actually going to the finals again. They were led by Wnba Bonner, Elisa Thomas, and Bria Thomas. Now, with Jones back, the team can make a lot of noise and will be one of the best in the league. I can see them finishing with a 19 and 13 record and making some noise in the postseason. Talking about teams that are set to make a big comeback, let's talk about the Washington Mystics. The Mystics suffered a lot when Elena Delle Donne, the 2019 MVP, and Tina Charles opted out of the 2020 season. However, their absence allowed Mincha Hines Allen to have a breakout season. Alongside Ariel Powers, who is now with the Lynx, they led the Mystics to the playoffs, but the Mercury eliminated them in the first round. Last season was definitely disappointing, but the 2019 champions are coming back and as strong as ever. When at full strength, the Mystics can easily be a top 3 team in the league. I think they're going to go around 19 and 13 this season, if all goes well. Now, let's talk about the Las Vegas Aces. The Aces suffered a lot with injuries and COVID last season, missing Kelsey Plum and Liz Cambage for the whole year. No big deal, as Aja Wilson went ballistic, winning the MVP award, and Angel McCaffrey had another really good season. The team also had Eureka Hambry that won 6 Women of the Year, but ended up getting hurt in the playoffs. After a scare from the Sun in the semifinals, the Aces went to the finals, but the storm was too much for them, sweeping them in 3 games. Now, Liz and Plum are back, and with the addition of Chelsea Gray, this team is full of stars and promise. However, once again, we won't see them at full strength because Angel will miss the whole season after tearing her ACL. But if anything last season taught us is that even hurt, the Aces are still really good. I believe they'll finish with 27 wins and 5 losses, good enough for the best record in the league, as one of the favorites to win it all. The Los Angeles Sparks are revamping their team. After losing Candace Parker and Chelsea Gray in free agency, they acquired Gabby Williams from the Sky, but she won't play this season as she has been suspended. Now they're left with Nneka and Chiney Ogwumike to lead them alongside a pretty young team. The team that was at the top of the league a few years back isn't there anymore. They're still a good team, don't get me wrong, but it's really difficult to see this team competing for a championship or against the top teams in the league. One bright spot, in my opinion, is Arella Guirantes, who was a major steal for them in the 2021 draft, and she could turn out to be a big piece for the future. My prediction is that they would finish around a 15 and 17 record. The Indiana Fever have been a bad team for a while now. They have always been among the worst teams in the WNBA, and unfortunately, this doesn't seem like it will change for a while. After making some questionable decisions during the draft and losing Candice Dupree in free agency, the team is looking like it will spend some more years in rebuild mode. They have a really young roster and some promising players like Kelsey Mitchell, but this is looking like another losing season for them. I would say they have an 8 and 24 record. Now, let's talk about the New York Liberty that finished with the worst record in the whole league. The future is bright in New York as they have, in my opinion, the best young player in the WNBA, Sabrina Ionescu. Sabrina only played 2 games and a half before hurting her ankle and sitting out the rest of the year. Even in the small sample size, though, we saw all her skill set, and I definitely expect her to be an all-star this year. The problem is mostly the team around her, as the Liberty doesn't have a lot of shooters to space the floor for her, but they do add some of those, and some veterans like Natasha Howard, and some great players overall that will definitely help them win more than 2 games this year. I don't think they're going to be that good, so I predicted them to have a 13 and 21 record with a heavy workload for Sabrina. The Minnesota Lynx took a hard hit when Maya Moore stepped away from the team a few years ago, but they have been able to recover pretty well because of some great young players. The team has the last 2 Rookie of the Years in Afisa Collier and Crystal Dangerfield. The team also has some great veterans such as Sylvia Fowles, Damiris Dentas, and newcomer Kayla McBride. They also had Ariel Powers, who had a breakout season in 2020 with the Mystics, averaging 16 points and 5 rebounds. The Lynx have a lot of talent and will most likely be one of the top teams in the league, destined to make a deep playoff run. I see them finishing with 20 wins and 12 losses. The Phoenix Mercury were, in my opinion, a bit disappointing last season, but maybe I was just too high on them. However, this year the Mercury are bringing back their 4 leading scorers, who were Diana Taurasi, Skylar Diggins, Brittany Griner, and Bria Hartley, respectively, who all average above 14 points per game, and they are adding another great scorer in Kia Nurse, who brings some nice depth and can help them contend once again for a championship. This team definitely doesn't lack talent, but that was never the issue. Will they be able to win more this year? That's what I expect. So I project them to have an 18 and 14 record. Last but not least, let's talk about the Seattle Storm. The Storm are the reigning WNBA champions who swept the Aces 3 games to 0 in the finals. This team will always be competing for something as long as they have Brianna Stewart. Brianna is just different. That's all we can say about her talent and the impact she has on winning. The Storm could literally have repeated if it wasn't for her injury in the 2019 season. Anyways, the team took a big hit, losing Alicia Clark and Natasha Howard in free agency, but they hope to fill some of the gap with Candice Dupree. Brianna and Jewel Lloyd will have to carry a bigger load for the team this season if they want to replicate their success. But like I said, as long as you have Brianna playing, I'll never count them out. I predict them going 22 and 12 this year, but making a deep playoff run once again. Now, before we end the video, I want to make some of my predictions to the season so that a few months from now we can look back at it and maybe laugh at me or maybe just be impressed that I got them right. But who's to say? For Rookie of the Year, I have Aurela Guirantes. Now, I know she's not the favorite, but I'm just betting here. I think that she could have a lot of space with the Sparks this season, and she definitely has a chip on her shoulder after falling in the draft. So I'm just betting on her. I don't think she's the favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised if she won it. Another really, really good player that might win it is Charlie Collier for the Wings, who was the first pick. So I wouldn't be surprised if she won it, but I just wanted to make like a bold prediction in saying Arella. For the Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with John Cal Jones. Now, this is a tough one because there's a lot of really good defensive players. I mean, Kenneth Parker won last year. Brittany Griner is always among the best defensive players, but I think Junko is a shot blocking machine, and even if she doesn't win it, I'm confident she would definitely be one of the favorites to win it. For the most valuable player, I have Liz Cambage winning. Now, kind of like Arella, this is a bold prediction and kind of weird because the Aces have Aja Wilson and she's the current MVP. So for Liz Cambage to win MVP, they would have to kind of like share the core two MVPs. This doesn't really happen. But I really like Liz. She's my favorite player, and I think she has all the talent and tools to win MVP. But again, it would be really difficult as she's sharing the floor with a lot of talent, a lot of different players that are really good. So probably won't happen, but I'm just gonna bet big on her. As for the champions, I'm gonna go with the Chicago Sky. I think they're gonna pull through and win it all. They have a super talented team with veterans, a lot of energy, a lot of experience. Candace Parker is looking for another title to solidify her legacy, and so are all Sky players. The league has a lot of great teams, like you saw here, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Sky just beat everybody else. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised as well if they didn't even make it to the finals because there's so many great teams in the league. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you want to follow this entire WNBA season, I really recommend you buy the WNBA League Pass. It's not that expensive. I'll leave a link for it in the description. And you can go and watch every game and support this amazing league and help it grow. And by the way, this is not a sponsor by the WNBA. I'm just giving a suggestion. I really like the WNBA League Pass. But what about you? Who do you think is going to win it all? Who do you think is going to be the MVP, the best team? Leave your opinion down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.